Hello and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues, a conversation of ideas. This week, if you live in North India, you probably wish you didn't, as a blanket of smog, poisoned, toxic air descended over city after city. Yet life seems to continue as usual. When air quality levels go from severe to very poor, we actually cheer. Courts wrap governments, chief ministers refuse to meet each other, they tweet sometimes. There's silence from the very top, with the environment minister saying at least it's not as bad as the Bhopal gas tragedy, even as study after study reveal how millions of Indians are dying of this pollution. How can we as citizens, government, health professionals come together to save ourselves from this health emergency? Joining me today is Kiran Bedi, Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. She was also, of course, the ex-chief ministerial candidate for Delhi. Deepender Hooda, Congress MP. He has a private member's bill for the right to clean air. Ashish Khetan of AAP. He's also a member of the Dialogue and Development Commission of Delhi. I'm also joined by the Mexican Ambassador Melba Pria, currently posted in Delhi. Also with me, Dr Lalit Dandona, Professor at the Public Health Foundation of India, also a Professor of Global Health at the University of Washington, which of course released a large collaboration this week of the disease burden and risk factors in different states in India and how air pollution contributes. Let me begin by going across to the Lieutenant Governor, Kiran Bedi ji. Thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule to join me from Puducherry. First, ma'am, you must be very happy that you're in Puducherry and not in Delhi right now, where you've lived for so many years. You even contested to be Chief Minister.
Yes, anybody going from Pondicherry to New Delhi tells me that we've gone from heaven to hell. They say we were breathing fresh air in Pondicherry, and there they had to put a mask on their... They send me pictures of the mask. So I can understand what's going on, and I'm happy to be out of Delhi at the moment.
Tell me, ma'am, I referred, of course, to the fact that you've lived in Delhi for many years as a young police officer, and also when you contested to become Chief Minister of Delhi. If you were Chief Minister of Delhi, what would you actually do today? Because the fact is that AAP and Mr. Kejriwal have made the point that they're hampered by the fact that too much control is at the center. They can't actually control this. What would you see as a solution for Delhi and other cities like this, other states in North India?
You see, there's a saying that if you are not the solution, then you're a part of the problem yourself. The point is, unless you strategize properly and involve everybody and be the change, you will not see the change. You cannot keep telling others to change unless you drive the change. I think I don't wish to advise anybody what could they've done. All I'm saying is that each one of them is in a leadership position. They ought to have brought people together, and not now. We know what happens during this time. We all know. We've all been suffering it for the time. I don't know. Did they have a strategy plan? Did they have a plan to involve every citizen, whether in the juggies, whether in the urban areas, whether in the fields? What kind of mobilization did they do?
Right.
And how did they work together? I think the point is, it is a citizen responsibility as well as public official responsibility. Everybody has to be involved, because everybody is a polluter. Everybody is a contribution to this pollution. We are all polluters in one form or the other, some very big and some small. So therefore, I do not know whether they really combinedly had a Delhi citizen plan for implementation and defining the roles and reaching out to the people.
I think that's a very important point, because it's not just about governments, as you said.
Right. I did this. You didn't do this, I did this. I think that is not going to work.
Exactly. And I think as citizens, we really have to look at that aspect of what is each one of us doing. So I want to bring in Deepender Hooda before I come across, because I don't want to make this a political debate, but really about the solutions we can all come to. Deepender, you've got a private member's bill you want to bring, which asks for governments to come together, for citizens to go beyond politics on this. Is that possible? Because we've seen already this week that the Punjab Chief Minister says, I won't meet Arvind Kejriwal, because it's all become very political. How can we look at this as something which is beyond politics?
See, Sonia, I've been a member of parliament for the last 13 years, representing a constituency that falls within the National Capital Region. And I've seen situation going from bad to worse. And I've also been a keen observant of the responses that governments have put together. There are two kinds of responses that our leaders have put together, and this is across all political lines, and this is not a political debate, as you rightly said, if we are to look for solutions. Two, one of ad hoc measures. You know, when it's Diwali, ban firecrackers, Then when it comes to the wheat sowing season come up with odd even, things like that, sprinkle water, this, that. Second, blame game. Just Haryana passes the blame to Delhi, Delhi to Punjab, so and so forth. So the ad hocism and blame game has not led us anywhere. They have not solved the problems for us. At the same time, I've also noticed that there are budgets available already without, there are certain budgets available with Delhi government which get unutilized, with the central government which get underutilized. In fact, you'll be shocked that pollution abatement fund from Government of India, there is the total budget is just 20 crores and they couldn't even spend that. Then there is coal cess, 56,000 crores, 30,000 crores every year, which is supposed to be for National Clean Energy and Environment Fund. Now that got diverted into GST compensation. And then there is some funds with Delhi government, energy cess that Delhi government has for transportation, etc. So the point is that I think while what we are lacking, what I feel, and that's why I brought in this private member bill, is a legal and administrative framework for all our leaders to come together and to rise above the political lines and act together in interest of the people and propose solutions. And that's why, just like we have NCR Planning Board, we have a which has been created through a statute where Minister of Urban Development is the chairman, and all the chief ministers, Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan are members. They sit together once in every 3 months in NCR Planning Board, and they plan the development for entire region, infrastructure development. Similarly, what I have proposed is we need to have a national clean air agency, which needs to be headed by the Prime Minister himself, and this is an agency which needs to be created by a statute where chief ministers for all the states become members, and this agency comes out with a plan with targets that, okay, PMA level, we want to AQI levels, this is next 5-year plan, 2-year plan, etc., adequate budgetary fundings, and then this agency oversees the implementation of this plan and monitors the progress, so that we don't have Twitter wars, chief ministers refusing to meet each other, and all the political drama that we see, and the last minute ad hoc measures. See, ad hoc measures are not going to lead us anywhere. So we need to have a systematic planning rising above the political lines.
I want to bring in Ashish Khetan on that, because really, Ashish, we talk about going beyond politics, and I think the people of Delhi do have a sense of being let down by whoever's in charge of the capital of India, whether it's the centre, whether it's the AAP government. The point being made today, the environmental chairman Bhulelal has said that the AAP government hasn't done enough to mitigate this. Every day the court raps there's a fund which hasn't been spent. How is a citizen of Delhi supposed to actually expect accountability from the government on this? How can we change this? What's the solution?
Okay, so to begin with, I must admit, as a representative of the political class, not of a political party, as Deepender has just pointed out, that the response of the governments and the political class has been more in the realm of ad hocism and emergency measures, or at best or at worst blame games. So far air pollution or pollution per se has not been part of the political discourse. It has not been part of the manifestos. It has not been part of the agenda and the programs on which political parties go out and seek votes. It is only over the last 2 and 3 years where this issue of air pollution has become really a talking point, and I'm glad that it has indeed become a talking point. Number one, the problem today, the biggest problem today that we have, and it applies as much to Delhi as it does to other cities in NCR and maybe much beyond. Our planning, the planning of cities, the planning of transport, etc., has not been done in a holistic manner. So we plan one stretch here, we want to decongest one junction here, we plan one bridge or one flyover there. That is not going to work. We need to plan cities and maybe plan regions holistically, thinking that we need to move people. We don't need to just move vehicles, we need to move people. Number two, there are different components to this problem of air pollution. One, we obviously know that there is dust, and dust comes out construction activities and so on. 4 activities mainly: agriculture, because of crop burning, that's one of the contributors. Second is industrial activity. Third is movement of vehicles and automobiles, and other kinds of construction activities and so on. Now, on all these fronts, the governments of Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Delhi and the central government, they have to work in unison. Because if you tackle just one problem, which is that you sprinkle water, or you come out with odd even, or you even just regulate private vehicles or vehicular movements, it's not going to work unless there is a sustained, coordinated, collective effort on each of these fronts which contribute to air pollution. We are not going to succeed. Every year we are going to debate, but nothing going to come out. And I must congratulate that what Deepender has thought, it's a good beginning, because we need to work under maybe the chairmanship of Prime Minister, because otherwise this interstate squabbling will continue.
And I think it will send out a very important signal if the Prime Minister actually heads a committee like that. I want to bring in Ambassador Pria now at this point, because of course, Ambassador Pria, you made headlines when you came to India and said, I don't want all this official transport, I want an auto rickshaw instead, it's much less polluting. And also, of course, where you come from, Mexico was once had the dubious distinction of being the most polluted city in the world, yet today you managed to change that. Tell us, as somebody who's breathing the same air as all of us here, what you would perhaps compare Mexico then with the Delhi of today. What would you say?
First of all, I am a Delhian today. Of course, I am a Mexican and I am the Mexican ambassador, but my air is the air that everybody is breathing. So today I am a Delhian. Mexico City was the worst city in the world. It was agreed by the WHO to give us that very horrible status. Today we are one of the 40 best cities in the world. But here my friends of the panel have said exactly what I should tell you. Of course you need emergency measures. Mexico, after 25 years of working with pollution and against pollution, last year we had a problem with pollution, especially with ozone, because we are up 2,600 meters above sea level. And then we had emergency issues. But you have to have a plan that is consistent. You have to have a plan that is integral. You have to have a plan that is not part of the political debate. This is an issue of health. We want progress for any city, and we want progress for every country. So the idea that we need progress and therefore we need to be, polluting is not real, because we will have progress, but who is the progress for? If we have 2.5 million Indians dying out of the 9 million people in the world that are dying out of pollution. So the problem is, all the solutions. If you need good practices, there are many cities in the world that have had good practices. Mine is only one of the many. So the idea of an odd even is very good, is needed now. It takes us 2 weeks to put an odd even in place. The discussion is if we women or you politicians should have this or that, when the discussion should be what type of vehicle is allowed to circulate, not because of the people that are on the vehicle. So the solutions are there, the examples are there. Mexico City is just one of them. We can share best practices, but Chile can do that, London can do that, many other cities have done that.
So we can change this. This is not something we just have to accept. And I want to bring in Dr. Dandona, an important point I think that all the politicians in this panel have made, that has not been part of political discourse so far in India, that people will still look at issues more when you're voting maybe on issues like caste. You see people out protesting Padmavati, but you won't see people out protesting that what is this air that I'm actually breathing. Why is it that, do you think Indians aren't realizing how serious this actually is? It's here and now. It's not about some long-term problem. You released that absolutely crucial report this week. Tell us why we should be worried.
10% of all disease burden currently in India can be attributed to air pollution.
That's a stunning figure.
That is stunning. But what is not realized often is that when at the peak of pollution, we have people having exacerbated asthma and some other conditions. Of course, that's important. But what's not realized is that's a very small portion of the problem. The contribution of air pollution to disease beyond those acute conditions is, it is a major contributor to cardiovascular disease, heart attacks. It is a major contributor to chronic obstructive lung disease besides the asthma. It is a major contributor to lower respiratory infections, and it is a contributor to cancer. So what is not realized because of the insidious nature of these conditions is the scope of the problem. And imagine are the data that we released earlier this week. 93% of people living in Delhi are exposed to significant levels of air pollution. And these data are reasonably sound. This is based on optical density, aerosol optical density, satellite data, and titrated, calibrated from ground monitoring. So this is not like loose data. And
to the Environment Minister, and in fact that I think is part of the problem. The Environment Minister, the Health Minister have made the point that, you know, there's no conclusive study that links air pollution to killing people. We had Dr. Harshvardhan, who's a doctor I respect greatly because of his work against polio, who says, well, look, it's not as bad as the Bhopal gas tragedy. Why do you think that some of these reports on the medical data, because you said that this data is relatively well proven, isn't really accepted yet by India?
The data on the exposure is fairly sound. That's the optical density satellite data. The causation data from India are not as common. It is more from other parts of the world. But we must remember the exposure to pollution, air pollution, that is, and things like smoking, is quite consistent in its consequences on the human body. It may vary a little bit between here and in Europe, or in America, or in Africa, but it will be a plus minus of a modest difference. So we might argue about the exact extrapolation of the findings, associations of air pollution with the diseases, but I think the message cannot be argued against.